There are some people in the world today that would say that the pyramids were from a celestial design, that this design originated from some alien source. While the rumor is interesting, however plausible, it is not. The Great Pyramids of Egypt were in fact designed by man and built by man. The pyramids are one of the world's 7 great wonders that the people for generations flock to every year to take in their majestic wonders. In this study, I will walk you through how the pyramids were designed and for what purpose. I will discuss who they were built for and what the occupants wanted inside most of them. In this study, I will explain the tools, the materials used, and the amount of manpower it took to create such an incredible build of that time. King Dozier had his master builder create a pyramid for him. The very first pyramid was built by stacking a series of mastabas upon each other. Imhotep created a step pyramid in 2630 BCE. Each mastaba was originally an individual's tomb, then family mastabas were created. The purpose of the mastaba was to safeguard the sacred burial of a family member from being raided by jackals. Jackals would ravage the graves for unprotected corpses, thus hindering one's spirit in the afterlife. King Dozier's pyramid was built of a series of stacked mastabas that faced all 4 points of a compass. These tombs likely those he thought very highly of and would protect him in the afterlife. It was during King Sneferu's rule that the first smooth-faced pyramid was designed and became the foundation of future pyramids. King Sneferu's pyramid was found to have construction flaws where cracks from the stress were found. With the amount of stress on the burial chamber, the architect had to modify the remaining top of the pyramid. The angles were changed to alleviate the stress and the possible collapse of the king's burial chamber. King Sneferu then relocated to Dashur to build his second pyramid, the Red Pyramid. The Great Pyramids of Giza is one of the world's 7 wonders, and rightfully so. They stand a staggering 481 feet tall upon a base of 756 feet. It is the largest standing build of its time. The pyramid is accompanied by 2 large pyramids and several smaller ones. The Great Pyramid of Giza was the tomb of King Khufu. 3 smaller pyramids were constructed for his 3 wives. The middle pyramid was constructed for King Khufu's son Khafre. Then the 3rd pyramid was constructed for King Khafre's son Menkaure. Why the shape, one would often ask? The design of the pyramid was made of 4 angle sides that were smooth. These sides would represent the sun rays and would assist one of the king's spirit to rise and join the sun god Ra in the afterlife. The interior of the pyramid was created to care for the second spirit, Ka, which remained with the body. Because of the body had a remaining spirit, the chambers was filled with the king's riches so that he would have everything he prized in his afterlife. To build the pyramids required not only a lot of manpower but huge amounts of material from outside the construction zone. Most of the stones used to create the pyramid came from local quarries, while the casing stones used for the foundation came from across the Nile River from other quarries. Each of these 3 grand pyramids in Giza consisted of an average of 2.3 million blocks of stone, of which weighed more than 2 tons each. The outer facing of the pyramids were smooth surfaces. Over the course of time, the pyramids weathered many sand and dust storms which eroded the outer stones. In addition to the erosion, some of the stones were removed after an earthquake had loosened them to build other buildings in Cairo. A Greek historian by the name of Herodotus recorded it took the Egyptians 20 years to construct each pyramid. Even though there were speculations as to how many workers it took is still debatable. It was even thought that the workforce consisted of foreign workers and slaves was disproved. During some excavations around the tomb, the bodies of the workers were discovered, and the majority of the bodies were of Egyptian descent. The workforce consisted of several teams, which added up to approximately 20,000 men. The workers lived in buildings away from the construction site in buildings called galleries. It was incredible to have a workforce of that magnitude, especially for those times. Even more, their attention to every detail that was carried out between all the work shifts. The soft stones were shaped by using copper chisels, saws, and drills. The harder casing stones were shaped by using sand, water, wood wedges, and the possible other abrasive powders of the time. The granite, being the hardest medium to cut, was actually scored by chisels, then wood wedges driven in, and finally water to swell the wood. When the wood wedges soaked up the water, it would create enough force to split the stone. Along with the tools, the Egyptians transported these enormous stones by using wet logs to roll them into place. The act of using water on the logs reduced the friction created by the weight and the rough surface of the stones. The stones that were brought in from other quarries from up and down the river were floated closer to the pyramids. Workers created a shallow waterway so that the boats could be used to get the stones closer to the construction site easier. When time came to build a pyramid, the foundation of the pyramid had to be level. They built several channels and filled them with water. Because water will settle itself, this could be measured and adjusted accordingly. Though the process was very tedious and time-consuming, it was necessary for such a large build. After the ground was perfectly level, the initial foundation stone could be placed. After each level of the stone were placed, they would need to build a ramp to move the stones upward. The Egyptians had no lifts or wheel to create a pulley, so they relied on the ramps to get the stones to the next level. How did they keep the pyramid square and level, you ask? The lead foreman used such items as a square level with a plumb bob, a set square, and a vertical plumb rod. These tools were most valuable tools on the job site. Without these tools, the pyramids would not be able to stand the way they do. So when these tools were not used, they were heavily guarded to ensure no one tampered with them. During the build of each pyramid, there were special chambers made for the king and his queen. These chambers were constructed for several purposes: to prevent grave robbers from finding the actual tomb, and it was also thought to be made to prevent a collapse from inside the king's chamber. The king's chamber was located approximately 34 feet from the east and 17 feet from the north and south exterior walls. The king's chamber had a flat ceiling. There were also special shafts created, one to the north and one to the south. Some say it was used for ventilation for the interior finishing work of the tomb. Others believed it was to allow direct sight to the stars. The theory that the shafts were made to allow direct sight to the stars would actually coincide with the spirit rituals the kings practiced. The queen's chamber was created beneath the king's chamber and also had two shafts extending upward. Unlike the king's shaft, the queen's shafts were designed with a different slope pattern. Even though the queen's chamber was built, it was speculated that no queen was actually placed in the chamber. The king's sarcophagus was made of travertine, a form of limestone, and was placed in a granite box. Prior to placing the entire box and sarcophagus in the tomb, a preparation was done. The high priest would perform a burial ritual on the king's body. The body went through mummification process where the organs were removed. Then the body was carefully wrapped in cloth and placed in the sarcophagus. Then the sarcophagus was placed in the granite box, then transported to the tomb. The movement of the king to his final resting place was no easy task. The shafts leading to his chamber left very little room to navigate the box. In fact, the entry to the chamber was too small and in most cases had to be removed to place the granite box in the tomb. After placement of the king, the doorways were repaired to the original state. The Great Pyramids were not only tombs for the kings, but portals for the king's spirit to travel to the heavens to become their own god. It also represents to the world the mighty power of Egypt and what they can do. They were able to create a giant tomb structure that would last for many centuries. The engineering technology that was used to prepare the ground to the cutting of the rock and shaping of the stones, and the transportation of the stones are almost unbelievable. The ability to set the stones perfectly and the ability to use ramps to move the stones to higher levels were proven a valuable technique. The Egyptian designs and symbols, clothing and furniture, and so much more is continually being recreated for modern consumers. The city of Las Vegas even has an Egyptian-style pyramid on the main strip. Inside the casino is completed in all decoration of Egyptian motif. The top of the Luxor has a brilliant capstone made out of glass that shines so bright that it can be seen from the International Space Station. It is in my opinion that the pyramids are one of the world's greatest treasures to be seen by all. The legacy it leaves behind and the stories that have been told about the pyramids are priceless. It would be safe to say that the pyramids were built to last the test of time and would probably be here to the end of time. Built by the blood, sweat, and tears of so many who had no idea how their knowledge would carry on, their tools, planning, and effective use of personnel to get the job done would set the standards for years to come. I truly hope that you have enjoyed this subject as I do. It has brought so much information of which I never knew. It has made me appreciate the history of the pyramids and the kings who used them. Not only do they represent the religious beliefs, but the culture of the ancient Egyptians.